I'll call this special meeting of City Council to order here at 8 a.m. in council chambers. Can we have Pledge of Allegiance, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's no invocation this morning, and there's no remote electronic attendance. Has Ms. Kostopoulos logged in? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Williams. Alderman Macias.
Present.
Wendt.
Present.
Timian.
Present.
Moyer.
Present.
O'Brien. Waldron.
Present.
Schmidt.
Questions on the agenda? Hearing none, we move to our agenda item 7.1, resolution authorizing the information technology manager to purchase 32 Havis docking station 600 series DS DELL 601-2 and 32 Havis LPS 132 power adapters from Dell Technologies in the amount of $26,336.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Alderman Waldron, second by Alderman Wendt. Any further discussion or presentation? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That was a roll call.
Need a roll call?
I'm sorry,
Non-consent.
we're not in a cow. Roll call, please.
Alderman Waldron.
Aye.
Schmidt. Never mind. Williams. Never mind. Macias.
Aye.
Wendt.
Aye.
Timian.
Aye.
Moyer.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Thank you. Item 7.2, a resolution authorizing a change to the construction contract with Langman Construction, Inc. for project number 1371, bypass sanitary sewer, resulting in an estimated increased cost of $188,350.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Alderman Wendt, seconded by Alderman Waldron. Any further presentation or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Waldron.
Aye.
Macias.
Aye.
Wendt.
Aye.
Timian.
Aye.
Moyer.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Okay.
That's all I have this morning, Your Honor.
Thank you. We do have miscellaneous business, and we do have executive session necessary this morning. This morning, it's my duty to inform you of an incident that took place yesterday and to remind you of your role as legislators. As you're aware, staff has been working to bring MetroNet in line and comply with our right-of-way ordinance in Chapter 6. To that end, we have had to engage the services of our engineering department, police department, as well as, of course, our legal department. This is the right course of action as directed by the city administrator and follows a reliable process. What is improper is when an alderperson takes matters into his or her own hands and engages with the equipment and personnel of those we are working to bring in line, causing damage to property, in this case a cell phone, and putting safety of a worker at risk. This action is outside the bounds of the role of alderman, and I cannot condone it. I have been made aware of this occurrence through the normal course of interacting with staff, a police report, as well as an email from a business owner in the vicinity of where the incident occurred. I urge all of you to hold yourselves to the standards of behavior that befit the seats you occupy. The work to manage the code violations of this business continues with diligence by our staff. No one alderman has the power to direct staff in this process. I ask the City Council to respect your roles and respect each other and respect our staff while this work continues. And that's all I have. Mr. Macias?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mr. Wendt?
No, we'll talk in closed session.
Mr. Timian?
I've been thinking about this and how I want to respond. The incident yesterday, I'm obviously appalled that MetroNet continues to violate the ordinance, and I'm really grateful that we do have mechanisms in place to enforce, and even though they're slow, they are effective. To the event that happened yesterday, just as much as we expect the contractors to follow the law, I think that expecting us to follow the law is I think, a low bar, and the standard of behavior that I think we need to have in the community, in front of residents, in front of contractors, is higher than normal. And our role is legislation. It is not enforcement. And this is beyond sending videos of harassing workers. It is also extending to policing neighborhoods and taking pictures. And I think that there's been overreach, and we've all known there's overreach, and it's beyond this. It's including overreach with staff, and it has to stop. And so we are the only body that can enforce that amongst ourselves. And so I will take an active part in that, and I'm hoping that everyone else will as well. Thank you.
Mr. Moyer?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mr. Waldron?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Vitas?
Just the executive session matter.
Okay, thank you. So who has that? You have
Your Honor, I make a motion that council convene an executive session for the purpose of discussion of property acquisition 5 ILCS 120/2C5.
I need a motion to
Second.
move into closed session. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Timian. Roll call, please.
Alderman Waldron.
Aye.
Macias.
Aye.
Went.
Aye.
Timian.
Aye.
Moyer.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
Okay, we'll move into executive session.
No.
Cars, house,
Thank you.
rooms.
Okay, please proceed, Mr. Went.
So to clarify some of the characterization, so yesterday morning I was out on a walk with my wife, and the night before I think I had sent out an email to a number of you guys showing the installation of MetroNet. It happened to be close into my neighborhood, and asking staff, I had sent a message to them saying, this is what's going to happen tomorrow. Please make sure that after the unanimous vote that we had done that said, hey, we're going to enforce our ordinance and implement all penalties under that chapter. The cease and desist had been done. So I sent that message the night before. My wife and I were on a walk about 7:30, a little before 7:30 in the morning. I was coming up from Prospect Park and saw a MetroNet truck installing line. I called Bob immediately, talked with him. I have had multiple conversations as I'm sitting with a truck, and I had gotten direction from Bob to take pictures, videos, make sure get license plates, document it, all of those things. So that's what I was doing. So the idea that was harassing them or whatever, that was a conversation with Bob, and that was the direction I had been given. Right after I had done that, I was walking down, and I can show you, and I provided pictures to the chief of police, and my wife had actually taken a video of this because we didn't want things to be completely mischaracterized as they seem to have been done. I can provide those to you as well. As I was walking down the sidewalk, there was a cable literally hanging down to the point that it was like right here by my head. I did touch that cable as I took a picture. A guy ran out of his truck, came at me so much, and again, my wife's got pictures and then took a video because she was concerned that the guy was going to attack me, that she videotaped the discussion with him because he came after me, and I said, well, this is what the rules, there's a cease and desist, your boss. I called his boss over. I walked over there, and at that point, Daryl was over there. It later came to my knowledge that they were claiming that when I touched the cable to take the pictures, and I'll show it to you, it was right here by my head, that someone dropped their phone in relation to me touching that cable. So, and when that was communicated to me, and I was going to talk to Annette today, that the city has decided to reimburse that person for the phone that was supposedly dropped. I am going to reimburse the city for that because taxpayer money should not be used for something like that. Nothing about the phone was said while I was standing there or anything. In fact, one of them said that I had assaulted someone. That went away when we said that it had been videotaped, and then this phone thing came up. So I just want to make sure that the record is clear on what it is. I would be more than happy to supply any videos and pictures of what happened because at Bob's direction, that's what I was doing, was documenting everything.
the police did come, not because of the situation with me, but because Bob had made that call earlier, because they were blocking off one lane of 16th Street without a permit at a place where 16th Street was already partially blocked off because of the water main break that had happened before, making traffic dangerous in this chute down at the bottom. And so the police had been called. I think a supervisor had come out. It had nothing to do with my interaction that the police had come out there. This seems to be some kind of after the fact, just claim that had been made that wasn't made at the time that this was happening, and we'll clear it up, and that's fine. But we went over, Daryl had been telling their people to stop, but they continued, as we stood there, to continue to install line both on 30th Avenue and on 16th Street, as Daryl was standing there telling them, as their boss, that they didn't have the right to do it. The police then came and documented, and from my understanding, who the people were, did they have a permit, and at that point they said, it's my understanding that they said to the police, we have a permit, it'll be here in the next 45 minutes, which was another lie, and I believe that may have happened the night before when they documented it, when the police met with them on 30th Avenue, and so I just want to make sure, because the characterization that was done in open session earlier is not accurate in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not going to.
I was told by our city administrator to take those photos to ensure that stuff was documented. And so
I didn't speak to that at all, Mr. Wendt. I am simply reminding this council that we are not the enforcers. You are the legislators, and that the staff is responsible for this enforcement work, and that engaging with anyone on a site is not in the purview of what your job is as a legislator.
Again, I was on the public sidewalk and at the direction of our city administrator. And so if you have a problem with what the city administrator had told me to do, then you can take that up with the city administrator. But that's the direction I was following at the time, and I completely agree. Daryl was there. Enforcement needs to be done by staff. Couldn't agree more. But when I'm walking down a sidewalk and there is a wire just by, I'll be the first one to say, I don't have ups. I can't jump very high. The fact that I could touch a wire, I clearly was not jumping 20 feet in the air where this wire was supposed to have been. It was a hazard to the public walking on the sidewalk.
Thank you. Mr. Waldron.
That said, Michael, you know you cannot get involved with random contractors and workers, and but to be touching the wire at all.
I was moving it from my head.
I know, but it's over and above what we should be doing.
I completely agree, and that's why I'm going to pay for the supposed phone that was damaged.
And I have a question. Did Bob tell you to talk to them?
He told me to document all that. I didn't talk with them. They came up. Well, I did. When I walked by, I said, "You're violating the ordinance. There is a cease and desist." I did say that as I was walking by, but the conversation happened when the guy ran down the street, and again, we've got pictures and video of it, and came up to me. At that point, I said, "Your boss, come and talk to him," and then I went over and I talked to Daryl.
Okay, but just to be clear, Bob didn't tell you to confront them and talk to them.
No,
videos and pictures can be done at a distance.
No, I agree with that. That's absolutely, and I did as I was walking by, and the guy said, "I'm going to sue you and take you to court." I did say, "You're violating the ordinance," and walked on. And I said, "There's a cease and desist for you guys to stop." So yes, I did reply back to him when he said that he was going to sue me for videotaping. I did respond to that.
Invariably, that's how it starts.
Completely understand.
We're better than that.
I agree. And if we were enforcing our ordinance, this would never happen. But I agree with you. I should have just walked by, followed Bob's direction, taken the pictures, documented everything. and then went and talked with Daryl. When this guy came up and came running at me, and you can talk with Eileen, she was concerned that he was going to attack me, and it's videotaped. I did talk with him because I wanted to calm him down and say, hey, then bring your boss over here. I know that these guys are just following their boss's direction, 100%. The higher-ups are the ones that are using these people to do things that are against our ordinance and against public safety, as it was there, blocking up the street. I couldn't agree more. If I had it to do over again, would I have just not responded to the guy who said he was going to sue me? Yes. Would I have just raised my camera up and taken the picture and not actually touched the thing? Sure. But other than that, I don't apologize for documenting, because up till this point, nobody's been documenting this, and that's why we wound up having to have this vote together. So,
Well, to wrap this up this morning, I want to thank you for continuing to urge the entire organization to enforce Chapter 6. That is important, that we all recognize that and gave direction. And now we simply need to make sure Bob can do the job of directing staff to take care of this. He has done some amazing background homework, understanding what has happened in other communities. I'm very thankful for that, and I think he is finding a pathway forward, because it's the way they are engaging with us, it has happened other places, it would appear.
Could I comment on that?
Yes, please.
And I think it's important to know this. Yesterday morning, while maybe this was going on, I had to be in East Moline for a meeting. And I ran into Bruce Ryder from Bettendorf, and I ran into Corey Spiegel. And I went up to them before the meeting, and I said, can you give me an idea of what it is like to do business with this company? Because they're basically in all the major cities now. And they just rolled their eyes, and they kind of laughed. They said, well, you know, the service is great. Fantastic service. I go, people are really happy with the service Metronet provides. And she went on to talk about her 27 devices and a gig of service for $95. I said, well, that's a lot of technology in your house. And then I asked them, I said, what was it like doing business with them, though? I mean, because, you know, I know they're all around us. I said, did you have problems? You know, and then Bruce said, yeah, we had problems. We had to issue stop workers with them, even after we had the agreement in place that they were out there on Devil's Glen, and we all know that road, right? It's quite a nice road. And they were installing additional poles without authority all the way up and down for almost a mile and a half. You know, and the city had to stop them, and the city forced them to take those poles out, and bury the cable. So they had challenges all the way through. And I heard the same thing from Corey, you know, and then I talked to Jim. I don't know Jim's last name, from Henry County, because, you know, he's doing the same thing. Everybody's doing broadband, you know, and you run into problems. He goes, the problems they run into sometimes is when they're undergrounding, other services are getting disrupted and broken, you know, and residents go up in arms, you know, when the gas line breaks or you know, or some other service breaks down. So I'm saying that because, you know, when we go forward with this project, this is going to be a horrendous project for us to get done. It's going to be 12 to 24 months. There's going to be disruptions of service. Residents, you know, we're going to do our best to communicate with residents before we launch this project, that there are going to be things that happen that they should expect will happen. And we're going to do our best to be out there. I mean, this is why, you know, without even having talked to them, I said, we need field inspectors specifically for this, because they're not going to send in just one truck. When they come in, we're going to have a dozen trucks running all over the place, permits pulled, because they're not doing anything without permits. And we're going to be challenged for the next 12 to 24 months as they do this project, you know, and hopefully they don't, you know, damage our water lines. I mean, not everything is buried deep enough. We know that. You know, but typically these things are shallow digs, you know, they're like 12 inches, and, you know, and buried is better. We all know that. I mean, there is some degradation in the service, even with fiber, if it's out exposed to the sun. I'm hearing everything from all the people who have walked this road before me here locally in Rock Island County and in Henry County. So just adding that, and we're doing our best to try and keep tabs on these folks. It has been a challenge. They do disregard what we're saying. They don't pay attention. We send officers up. We send Daryl up. You know, we're to the point where we're going to start issuing citations if we have to with Brad Howman. I mean, there's no history of doing it. That's the other thing. We don't run around issuing citations all the time. So we're going to start doing that and putting in place that practice that's not there. So it's been a challenge.
Bob, if my recollection is not as good as it used to be, didn't we just have a meeting with all these representatives?
9:30 to Wednesday morning, we had the room full. Everybody,
And
people like
was MetroNet in attendance?
4 members of NetroNet signed in, and 1 member was there, and that was Mr. Salerno, right, the head salesman. He didn't sign in, but I know he was there, you know, and he came into my office before the meeting even started, you know, just blew right in. You know, I really did. I just dislike when people do that. He just blew right in, and you know, he goes, you got to help us. I go, what? I said, he goes, we got to light up East Moline. He goes, you got to let us finish this project. He goes, they're waiting on us, and I go, we got to get through Moline to finish this last loop to light them up. And I'm like, well, you know, follow the ordinance. We have an ordinance. You have to follow it. I said, we're not preventing you from lighting up East Moline. They're our neighbor. We don't want to interfere with that. I said, but we can't have your people out there disregarding our rules, our laws, you know, and just basically ignoring us. I said, that's done. I said, it's over. So, you know, here it is, 3-4 hours later, Wednesday night, what were they doing? They're out there pulling the cables again. You know, and it's been like it's like a nuisance around here. I mean, it's prevented us from doing the things we want to do, and distracting us from doing our work. I mean, we probably lost $10,000 in man hours this week alone, addressing this problem with the company. So I spoke with their vice president, Scott Shapiro. Scott's an ex-government employee. He was the director of communications for Lexington, Kentucky. I had an hour-long conversation with him. And, you know, they lit up, MetroNet actually lit up Lexington through a bid process. That's how we ended up going to work for them.
Did they make any assurances with you that they would follow the ordinance?
He made an assurance to me that he was aware of some of what was happening, but not all, because he's not local. So I told him, I said, you need to get on top of this. You're the VP. Get on top of this and find out what your people in the field here in the Quad Cities are doing, because they are not listening to us. I said, you know there's an ordinance. I go, you've read Chapter 6. I'm sure you have. He goes, I'm aware of Chapter 6. I said, then follow it. I said, please be respectful of who we are. You know, it was a very long conversation, and Scott is not a bad person. He's actually a pretty decent gentleman.
Thank you. Mr. Wayne.
So if that message from him can get to these folks down here, we're great. Otherwise, I'm going to be dealing with this until they get to the other end of East Moline.
Mr. Wayne.
Yeah, and 2 things. I want to reiterate, as I said before, if they're following our ordinance, I've got no problem with whoever's here. You know, we don't have to have an agreement. Just follow our ordinance, and we're good to go. The second is, Margaret had mentioned that today based on our vote on Tuesday night, the notice should be going out to them that starts the clock that says that all of their installations within the city of Moline that were done outside of the code, which basically everything aerial, because they
10
don't have
miles,
any
10.2 miles.
is that what
They have 22 miles they need to run for the loops. They've got 10.2 miles completed.
So now some of it, a small percentage is underground,
Some of
which
it,
is
yeah.
which is totally fine and that stays. But that the clock will start on the other 10.1 miles or whatever that is aerial that has been installed in Moline. So that will go out today. That will start that 30-day clock. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware because Margaret had said.
Margaret, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't. I did say that we anticipated our letter of correspondence to MetroNet will go out today. And And Bob, I believe that you have a draft, so we'll finalize that probably today, right?
This morning,
Yeah.
Okay,
before I get started on anything else.
okay, thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Wentz, second by Alderman Waldron. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion passes. Thank you for taking time at the